little sips. Savor.
Welcome to the Zachrilege Cast podcast, YouTube video interview program that features me talking to some of the best and brightest in the atheist / secular / awesome community. This is episode number 140. I'm recording live on April 24th, 2018. Thank you again to Pris for being on last week, and be a dear, check out The Interesting Life of Pris. Tonight's going to be different. Let's face it, we all get into routines and come to love and hate them. I go into the state-of-the-art Zachrilege Cast studio, aka my office, pop a brew or two, and talk to somebody over Google Hangout every week. This time I'm going local, although we're technically halfway to Chattanooga, although it's still sort of Atlanta, Georgia. The Godless Heathens annoy me because they don't have a number on their episodes. So how do I know mathematically how much better I am than them? These are
10 times.
3 dudes.
Plus 20.
Subtraction, actually, but you know.
These are 3 dudes who live so far from Atlanta. They started a podcast. They sit around a microphone and drink and talk about atheist stuff. I totally can't relate. Thank you for inviting me to your home. So we have Jerry, Don, and Jeff. And before we get started, I'm going to do out of context quotes, and go ahead and tell me who actually said it, if you can remember. This is from the last couple episodes, so very recent. If you're off in the woods spurting on rocks, it doesn't do nobody any good. All right.
That was me. That's not me. Remember, that was the discussion about the Bible verse that. And I'm paraphrasing, that basically says it's better to have sex with a whore than jack off. That one.
Spilling your seed kind
Spilling,
of.
yes.
Spilling your seed.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, spurting on the rock. I didn't quite make the connection. But now
That's
I do. Okay.
that's a Donism.
You didn't grow up Catholic. So
Yeah.
That's
that whole seed part and that.
yay for me.
Yeah, for me.
We have
And
the
also,
knuckles to prove it.
To set the scene for anybody watching, checking out on YouTube, since we're all in a room together, can't really get us all on video. We're just going with the avatar tonight, so our voices have to be that much more sexy. But we'll continue with the out of context quotes. Actually, this isn't a quote. Who is the left-handed mouser? Okay.
Come on.
That's scary. There's some discussion about things you do right-handed and left-handed, and I have left-handed people in my family, so I actually eat left-handed, but I do everything else right-handed.
Jerry does everything
doing,
right-handed but mouse.
Eat occasionally, but that's you're casting aspersions already, and we're like
Aspersions are cast. I know.
On a rock?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm left-handed mouse and proud, damn it.
There you go.
Lord made me that way.
Okay, we'll get back to the quotes. That was someone who needed religion to get his head out of his ass.
That sounds like a Jeff.
I don't know. That could be a Don.
That sounds like something I would say.
It doesn't work.
To somebody that needs to get their ass.
Might have been too many.
Yeah, it might have. Yeah.
One of those, maybe when you first start with atheism, you're like, oh, everybody should come my way. And then it's like, maybe these people need religion. Never mind. Just you back off slowly. No, you're right. If I didn't have religion, I'd be killing people. Okay, stick with it. Yeah, totally.
Okay, works for you.
2 more. Jesus didn't turn water into beer.
Who said that?
Probably not Don.
Probably not me.
No, it would have been wine. You would have stuck with wine.
Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know. Is that me, like, fighting the good fight for wine? Saying, Jesus didn't turn it into beer; he turned it into wine.
Not that you would drop the gloves or fight really at anything.
No,
it's just not like you.
No.
I'm gonna say Jeff.
I can own that. I would like to say that.
Yeah.
Maybe you did.
Maybe we shouldn't have drank so much beer that night.
I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah, I don't mean either.
And the last episode you posted was on 420, so you said Jesus did not toke.
We did say that.
There was a lot of discussion about whether evangelicals were pro or against pot.
Yeah, we were talking about, we had 2 articles from the same website, 2 different authors, but the same, desiringgod.com, a Christian website one article was from 2014, one was from 2017, and just the difference in the tone of the two articles. One was completely anti-cannabis.
Hilariously so.
Yeah, ridiculously so. And the other one was basically like,
passive aggressively against it, though.
Yeah.
Because that was the guy that smoked a lot of pot and gave it up and found.
Yeah.
But the place was across from a dispensary.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I think that caused him some conflict. Probably a lot of his parishioners were like, you know,
you could tell the guy was
looked out the
progressive
window
from
lovingly at
his,
it, like
or came in from there.
The green neon sign in the window calling.
It's sort of like when my mom quit smoking, she would make sure to always hang out with smokers outside so she could just breathe.
That's my wife.
That was about 5 years after
To
quitting.
this day, we're at about 5 years since we quit smoking, and she's still like, if somebody goes outside to smoke a cigarette, she'll go outside with them just so she can stand. She doesn't have any desire to smoke a cigarette, but she loves the smell and likes to stand next to somebody.
She is going to regret that you said that.
I know,
because she gives me grief every time I come over.
Well, that's because
I'm going to take a cigarette. It's a pet. It's not even a pet nickname. It is a standard nickname.
Yes,
Kimmy. It's not like it's an insult. Shouldn't be.
Just don't say it like, Kimmy.
I do. I do now.
Secondhand smoke is your secondhand Jesus. So we'll have to get into that later. But what's everybody, before we get really rolling, what's everybody have beverage wise? We'll start with Jerry and work our way around clockwise. I'm moving my hands, people.
I'm going out of character.
Uh-oh.
I'm going brown. Founder Sumatra Mountain Brown. It's a 9% beer, so I don't need too many of them. It is Imperial Brown Ale, which is something Don would totally hate because he's drinking.
I'm not going with wine tonight. I fight the good fight against the two of you, but y'all ganged up against me and got 3-on-1. So I went beer. And I knew that if I came in here with like a Coors Light, you would kick me out of my own house. So
yes, we'd have an SJW conversation about it.
So I called Jeff from the liquor store.
Help me!
Hey, what the hell am I going to? And I ended up getting a Red Hair Long Day Lager. Not bad.
It's got a bunny on it.
It's got a bunny on it. It's got a red bunny.
It's a very, stressed looking bunny though.
But it's local. It's made here in Marietta. Well, it could have been made in North Carolina. Apparently they have 2 breweries, but I'm going with Marietta.
A new one. Yeah.
And by the way, we're not anti-wine. I am not anti-wine at all. Just for the record, I'm on team wine. Jeff,
right. Well, the only reason I drink wine during the podcast is because if I drank liquor, it would be a completely different podcast.
Could need to be
totally different show.
Have a liquor podcast.
Yeah,
and a wine
brown liquor.
We can do that.
It would be a much shorter show.
Another cast we could have, but that's another time. So I'm drinking a Basement IPA, POG.
You're drinking a Pog Basement.
A Pog Basement, from Scofflaw Brewing in Atlanta.
That's what I almost bought.
You want to taste it?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that leftover?
I literally had this at the register, about to buy this when I finally got in touch with you.
You're gonna love it.
By the way, you should have bought that.
But I don't know if he likes IPAs.
No, I'm good with what I got.
See? All right, I'm redeemed.
Yeah, we've had a long standing anti-IPA thing, Jeannie and I on the show, and I just don't know why you like. It's like orange juice after you brush your teeth. Like, that's my feeling about IPAs. It just doesn't work. But the fact that there's so many IPAs out there means the beers I like are more freely available in theory. So I got a special beer, Tears of My Enemies, Imperial Milk Stout aged in Scotch barrels. This is from the Monday Night Garage. See, our breweries have extra breweries. So the Monday Night Garage is a different location, but it is an Atlanta beer. So I think we're drinking.
Yeah,
I think we're all Founders local. Is Michigan. Michigan beer is just ridiculous. Awesome. There's so many Michigan breweries like Founders, like New Holland, and I think Bell's, and they're just everywhere.
Jolly Pumpkin.
Which, considering the state of the water there, I don't totally blame them for going beer.
Man, I'm under frickin' siege. First, by the way, the Monday Night Garage, I went to a fantastic IPA festival there. All you IPA haters.
It was terrific. The Juice, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was really good.
Did you stand outside and protest?
I should have done that, yeah.
God hates IPAs.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
But I'm going in.
Gotta have some kind of rye,
Yeah.
Is it? Adam and malt, not Adam and hops, something like that. Doesn't quite work.
It's early. We'll work on it.
But yeah, we're getting nice and beverage lubricated, so this is going to be a solid show. How did Godless Heathens get started? And that's a pretty solid name for a show that's fairly new.
Yeah, we got really lucky. We had a number of really good names that we came up with initially. The whole idea behind the podcast literally started during one of book club meetings. Jeff started a skeptics and atheist group in Marietta.
Don't forget the humanists.
Because he got sick and tired of driving to Atlanta to meet like-minded folks.
Selfish.
So he made a group out here in the suburbs.
It'll be 5 years.
It'd be 5, yeah.
Next month.
And we have a book club, and we have a couple meetups that we do a month. And I found out about these guys when me and my wife were going to Sunday Assembly, and we went to the Sunday Assembly in Nashville because Neil Carter was going to be giving a presentation. And so we went there. I got a chance to talk to Neil Carter, and I mentioned that I lived in Ackworth. He's like, I'm going to be in Cartersville in a week. There's a Marietta group that's hosted me. And I was like, well, I got to join this fucking Marietta group. That was when I first met y'all, was at the McCracken's, one of your McCracken's meetups. I came to that right before we had the meetup with Neil. Yep. And that's how I got to know y'all, to begin with. And haven't been back to Sunday Assembly since joining the Marietta group, because that's
too far.
It's a good hour haul even on a Sunday afternoon to get down there. But
where did they do the Sunday Assembly in Atlanta? Because I went to one.
The last time,
in a shopping center, like off Buford Highway.
Yeah, they moved it
early.
For a while. They were doing it, and I don't know if they're still doing it there, but it was at the UU Church in Little Five Points, First Existentialist Congregation, I think is the name of it. Neat little old building right across from a golf course.
Oh, it's in Candler Park.
Yeah, Candler Park.
Yeah.
It's got the sign out front that says, instead of telling you what to believe, we thought you might have a few ideas of your own. Nice inviting little sign out front. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but what did make you decide what you wanted to do a podcast? I don't even remember that.
His ego.
Oh, no.
100%.
We were at one of the book clubs, and we just got to talking, and I don't know if it was I that suggested it or somebody else that suggested it.
He said, nobody's doing an atheist
We
podcast.
need to start it. Yeah. What this world needs is skepticism and atheism from the older white man's perspective, because there's just no voice in the marketplace.
Tired of not being heard.
Yes, exactly. But somebody suggested we ought to do a podcast, and you pointed at me that you should do it. And we
didn't want to do it.
No, we kicked the idea around for a couple of months. And like I said, we had a couple of really good names that we came up with. And then we found out immediately that somebody else already had the name and was using it. What was the first one we had? Pod Damn It.
Oh, yeah.
And that one was taken. We Imaginary Friends, we thought about that for a while. We kicked that around for a while.
We went down all the typical ones.
Yeah, we went a bunch of different names
and landed on a super lucky one.
Yeah. One day I just Googled Godless Heathens podcast, and literally nothing came back. Not a thing. I think I want to say around 2012, somebody did maybe 5 or 6 episodes on YouTube, and that's it. And it died. They disappeared.
We're not letting it go.
No.
We made sure they disappeared.
Yeah. We wrote them out.
We have T-shirts now.
Yeah, we do. We do have T-shirts.
I saw that. I used to only have the one, but I think I gave 3 of my Patreons ones, and there are 4 Zachrilege cast shirts in existence.
My wife had
Probably
one
were,
made. We went to a little mall kiosk, and she had a pink V-neck Godless Heathens T-shirt made.
Excellent.
Yes, very nice.
Oh, one of a kind. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, one-off. But yeah, we kicked around the idea for, like I said, for a couple of months, and then we finally, got serious. Jeff won Employee of the Month at the company that he owns and is the only employee at, and bought us a microphone, and the rest is history. So they say.
Right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And serious in quotes.
Yes.
We have the same microphone. That's kind of nice. I guess that's a popular one.
One of the members of our group in Marietta is Blake. What's Blake's last name?
Smith.
Smith. See, it's the weird names I never can remember.
Yeah.
Blake Smith, he does the Monster Talk podcast. It's the official podcast for Skeptics Magazine.
Yep.
And we had a chance to reach out to him, kind of pick his brain a little bit. And
what kind of software to get?
Yeah, a little learning curve.
So we had some good help.
Yep.
And so what was our first episode on? Do you remember?
Oh,
The first episode we ever
so
did.
long ago. It could not have been good.
Or the one that, because we did one episode, we recorded
like a
it,
pilot episode,
and we threw it out to a couple of our friends just to check it out.
Right.
Which is really not a good marketing group because they're not going to tell you the truth. So if you want to continue something, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, yeah, it's not bad. There's a lot of potential there, which means it's
at the end.
Yeah,
that was
awesome. Awesome. But yeah, we did. We talked about. That was the. We really should release that at some point. The one part of that was a funny conversation where I went just like I do every year.
We get really big, and we're tapped out on ideas. We'll do this as like a special pod extra from the archives.
We'll release it to Patreons only.
Right.
That's right.
But no, that was the one. Remember, I had just gone to the Dragon Con parade, and the crazy Christians broke out right before the parade started with their signs and their bullhorns. And one guy had a sign with like 40 different things why you're going to hell.
Yeah, that was pretty.
And we read the list and scored ourselves on out of the 40 how many reasons why we were going to hell. And Catholic.
Yes.
Catholic pulled me and Jerry ahead of Jeff here for put him in solidly in third place. And
is Catholicism one of those
Catholic was one of the reasons
you can't get out? It's kind of like Hotel California, but the religion.
To win a contest, we should be able to claim it at least.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been dunked or you've done it for any period of time,
Well, confirm,
claim
first communion,
first confession,
confirmed.
Did the confirmation?
What's
your confirmation name?
It's the same as my name because I was super boring.
Really?
You get to different names.
You get to take on the name of you get to pick a saint and take his name on, and it actually becomes part of your legal name.
I took it.
Yeah.
It's like, there's. That's my first name. I'm going to do that guy.
St. Jerry.
St. Jerry.
Gerald.
My guy.
Gerald. Who knew? There are very few St. Gerald churches, by the way. So he must not have been a very good saint.
I don't think he was a good one.
I found out that there was a St. Wolfgang, and I fought for Wolfgang. My dad would not fucking go for it. I had to change. He's like, "There's no way you're doing." You just went off.
Because you would go to hell, even though there's a St. Wolfgang. You're just not taking it seriously.
Donald Paul Wolfgang Queen? Are you kidding me? That's freaking awesome, man.
That would be good.
So I went with Gabriel. There was no
the angel.
Yeah.
Dang.
I used to play the trumpet in like the 4th grade. So that was the only tie-in I had.
That's exactly the kind of thinking you have when you're in 8th grade.
Oh yeah.
Trumpet, Gabriel. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
My name,
God's
Gerald.
Angel.
That's my wheelhouse.
About it.
Yeah.
What do you know about St. Gerald?
Nothing.
Good name.
Yeah.
Easy to remember.
That's right. But the guy that confirmed us was super liberal progressive bishop. Got arrested out for protesting the army and stuff. So pretty hip.
That's cool.
Pretty hip guy. It didn't last long.
No.
So James from the Free Thought Prophet is actually in the chat room, and he says, "We do whiskey during our podcast. You weak-kneed babies." He's in New York, and John's in Ireland, and of course they're drinking whiskey during our show. So,
absolutely.
That was a.
We could do a brown liquor or whiskey. Totally.
I don't know. I'm afraid of that. That's like that's the sign where it's like I'm finished if I do that.
You brought in a bottle of scotch the one time
the
Monday Night Scotch.
Oh, that's right. We did have that. That was good. That was good
nice
stuff.
and smooth.
Yeah.
All right. I'm up for that.
Sensing a theme.
I'm up for that. I like that. I'm all for the themes being beverages. So the last 2 episodes I didn't drink. I don't know. I'm losing my brand right here. It's trouble.
See, we keep escalating though. Eventually, we're gonna have like a weed show, and then a coke show, and then like a heroin show. And, it just starts going downhill.
It will be shut down at some point. Yeah.
So has it been the 3 of you from the start?
Mm-hmm.
Any rotations? Did anybody leave? Did you try to kick them out like the Beatles? Or
no, we had the one time that something came up and Jerry couldn't make it, and we had Ashley, a friend of ours, that sat in for us.
But she was also on there when she chastised us.
Well, that was because she came on to chastise us, and you weren't here for the chastisement. But that was the one that the recording was just
here for the chastisement.
Yeah.
Well, the first time we did it, the recording was so bad it had to just be trashed. So we invited Ashley to come back, and the four of us recorded one episode. That was the Me Too episode that we did.
And by the way, the passion did not diminish in between episodes. It wasn't like she left it all on the first.
No.
So you just did back to back. You just said, "All right, we're gonna keep going."
We did it, I think, a week later. We had.
Isn't that what the pros do?
Yeah, it was pretty
bad.
It was pretty sparse at the beginning. It was kind of hit and miss. We would go. We literally tried every other week, but it was every third week for a while, and then Christmas kind of rolled around. It was like once a month.
We got obligations.
Yeah,
church.
It really once after the new year, we kind of buckled down and got on an every other week schedule, and we've been sticking to that.
And luckily, or really unluckily, the atheist world is giving us all kinds of news to discuss.
Oh yeah. Well, that was our original thing. Was the whole the elevator pitch of the podcast is it's a look at the crossroads of religion and politics from the secular perspective. And with the orange Cheeto in the White House, we're never going to run out of material to deal with. I just didn't expect as much, like you said, from the atheist side. I didn't see all this coming down.
No, it's also been a little bit of an evolution about. Atheists don't take themselves to task as well as they take other people to task.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that at least I know that I like to talk about, and we've talked about quite a bit, is, maybe a little more critical eye about us as opposed to what it feels like sometimes pointing fingers a lot. And what makes people or us better atheists, and are we do we kind of fall into some of the same traps that people we criticize?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that we don't poke fun at people, but
I don't think it's necessarily just an atheist problem.
Well.
It's an in-group, out-group problem. It just depends on which group you're in, to some extent.
Yeah, you do meet that group and you're like, oh, these people have something in common with me.
Yeah.
Oh, we're this great people. And you go and you hang out, and then all of a sudden the stories come out. And oh, that's right. People do kind of
shitty
suck
things
everywhere. I don't know if it's something you can relate to, but it's like listening to a podcast where like the host is just super smug and I've never been wrong and I'm perfect and great. And the people are like, oh, this is terrible. And you're like, no, it's really good. Those are the ones you're like, okay, I can catch on with you. And dang, you already said elevator pitch as one of my questions. I feel like you do this for a living. You're awesome.
Uh-oh.
Now, I'll ask a question, even though the answer is where I'm sitting right now. Where do you record the show?
Right here in the room you're sitting in.
Exurban Atlanta.
Exurban Atlanta. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We were recording 20 feet away at my dining room table, and then my wife started complaining that she didn't have her dining room every other Thursday. So I said, well, I'm commandeering one bedroom. I'm going to turn it into a little recording studio. And we got some sound deadening curtains and hung those up. And notice who's not in the dining room right now.
She hasn't been since.
And is never in the dining room on any Thursday that we record. So she's got her dining room, but
I like this room
she
a
doesn't
little
use
bit
it.
better
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, my wife and I got like a 4-bedroom house, and we don't have any kids. So we have our own bedroom, and then we have her office, my office.
Yeah.
And now she records her show in her office. I record mine in my office. And it's like, when the other person's recording, I'm just going to go downstairs for a while. Yeah.
There you go.
Just show some, a little respect there. And
that is such a super modern media house. His and hers podcast.
His and hers podcast. His and hers fridges.
Like that. Could
You
see
have
that
enough room
when you sell it.
It's a modern nuclear family.
His and her podcast.
Yeah.
Does it make a big difference in a relationship where it's like, we used to have one bathroom in the entire condo and that's all we had, and now we have multiple, and it's like, wow, how much more relaxing is it? Even though, that's just something that happens. Well, this is a question. So how long is the show usually? What's kind of like the format? Is it just the three of you talking, doing stories? Do you ever do kind of interviews, or do you just kind of talk amongst yourselves?
We haven't done an interview yet.
We got to figure the technology.
Yeah,
out on that
we're
first.
a little behind on the tech, but yeah, we
We're
mostly
not that, you're not that far behind. This is a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, the audio doesn't sound like we're on the can with an iPhone.
well
Hey,
we're
give yourself a little bit
no.
of credit.
we're currently hooked to the internet through a hotspot via T-Mobile. So we're not exactly
Using all available technology.
Absolutely.
We're not on Google Fiber.
But there are sound
No.
there are soundproof curtains.
There is
in
no
here.
T1 line running through this house. But
If you'd like to contribute to our T1 line,
But yeah, mostly what it's the three of us. We get together and we look at the. Stuff happens so quickly nowadays with the news cycles that we really look at what's happened in the last week, because what's happened 2 weeks ago has already just been dissected 8 ways to Sunday from every other show. So we kind of keep an eye out. We've got a what is that, Google Plus?
Google Plus.
We have a little Google Plus that the three of us use just to kind of shoot
share
articles
topics
back and
and
forth to each
discuss
other
and
and
see what
topics and
rises.
come.
but then we sit down before the podcast and say, so what are we going to talk about today?
Yeah, what are we talking about?
We either had 0 things or like 18. And which ones are we going to talk about? And kind of figure out, it's that little yellow pad that Don has. He's like, okay, we're going to talk about this, and then we talk about it for 2 minutes, and then he has to start over because we've already rearranged it.
Or either that, or we get to talking too much about what we're going to talk about before we start recording.
That's true.
We have to be careful not to.
Right, and Jerry's famous for saying, "Save it, save it." Don't be talking about it. Save it for the cast,
or just start recording.
Yeah. Hit it.
But yeah, we usually record somewhere when we get done. The raw recording that we have is usually somewhere between an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, and I edit that down to about an hour.
I cannot believe you're giving away the secret.
Yeah, I know. Just need more
So much
Calgon.
gold just on the streets. You just pick it up, all this extra stuff.
Yeah.
So what's beer number 2 you've hit here?
What you got?
Yeah, this is an Eventide Highlander Strong Scotch Ale.
Uh-oh.
So see what I do. My plan is I go from light to dark. So I'm going to finish. This is kind of a mid-range, and then I'm going to finish up with a porter.
Dark to darker.
Yeah.
I had that. I'm trying to remember the local place where they do like flights, and I was doing a bunch of like Scottish ales, and that was one because it's like kind of oak aged too a little bit.
Yeah.
That's,
You put more
Sounds terrible.
thought into that than the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. Like you're the same. Like, what are we going to talk
it's
about? But
important
beer.
to schedule your
Beer.
beverage journeys. This is a redundant question, but drinking involved during the show, and is drinking encouraged for the non-driver listeners of the show?
Absolutely.
No reason.
Yeah.
They're adults.
Yep.
We
might,
assume.
we might sound better, actually.
If
they were also.
The drunker our audience is, the better our show is.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's why our 420 episode was our best.
Yeah.
Funniest, most insightful.
Oh, absolutely.
The best ever. Do you mean kind of been talking about episodes, but do you have like favorite episodes that you've had so far? And
I tell you,
what's coming up in the future for?
It's funny when I got done editing the elections and secularism episode, which was one of the first episodes we did, I thought that was one of the best ones that we've done, and it's like the worst downloaded out of all of our episodes. So like my personal favorite is nobody else's favorite. It just kind of works out that way. The two we did on Lawrence Krauss. The one on the Billy Graham and Lawrence Krauss, and then the other one, which was kind of like a wrap up of NanoCon and a wrap up of the Lawrence Krauss thing. Those are probably our two biggest downloaded episodes that we've done.
Yeah, and I'd say those would be my favorite ones too, because we were dipping more into, looking in the mirror and see, what are we doing as a movement? How do we define who we are?
Are we a movement?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We
Are
did
we
touch
moving?
on that.
Man,
Forward, backwards, sideways.
there's a lot of fighting toward anything like, no, it's just atheists is not God. It's like, well, that's like 10 minutes. Then you got to talk about something else.
Now
right?
what? Yeah.
I mean, you can, I guess. I mean, there's plenty of, sometimes we might go too far. Like I know I've had episodes of the show in the last few months where like, I don't even talk about religion. And it's like, when did that happen? Because this show is about atheism. And it's just like, well, there's other stuff going on and people's stories are interesting. And there are definite shifts. So I'm going to do a quick live read and then we'll continue. Okay. So Amy, or is it Amy? That's Y and I, sent me a soup mug, which they darn well know is going to be a beer mug because they are awesome. And a little of that awesome must have rubbed off on me. So listen to Secular Soup. You get a soup mug if you're a special guest of that show. So there you go. I got it yesterday. It was kind of cool. I didn't bring it with me. I'm sorry.
That's Amy? Nice of you, Amy.
Nice.
Amy with a Y, Amy with an I. I know. They don't know. And they spelled the name of my show correctly, and they only drew one penis on the mug. I'm very... Apparently, cognitive dissonance got 3. So that means I'm either 3 times better or worse. I don't even know what that means. I'll be quiet.
Discuss.
Yes.
So does the atheist movement need to pass on the airing of grievances, or do we need to grievance a little bit longer?
That's a good question.
It sounds like a question we would talk about.
Yeah.
But maybe it feels sometimes we grievance too much. Maybe it's time to move on from grievance because to be a tad more productive.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we need to put that one thing that we don't have in common aside and concentrate on the 11 things we do have in common, and we'll deal with that one item, that we don't see eye to eye on at a later time. Work for the common good.
Well, give me an example of that. I'm not quite clear.
Well, it seems like, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It seems like if I'm 10 steps to the left on a topic, but somebody else is 12 steps left on that same topic, suddenly I'm a Nazi when it comes to that topic. I'm not lockstep with you necessarily, but we're on the same side, or we may be completely opposed on one particular topic, but we've got upteen other things that we agree on. Right. Let's work on the things we agree on. And in the meantime, we can discuss the one thing we don't agree on and come to some sort of common ground, hopefully.
Yeah, like last episode, I was kind of comparing that to denominations in the Christian world. And I kind of see that same kind of thing. So as soon as like this church decides that they don't want music, they're going to split off and do their own kind of thing. So rather than focusing on the one thing they have in common, you have all these little break-off groups and all that.
That was a real good analogy you made. He was talking about last show about denominations of atheism and relating it to
skepticism, free thought, humanism, atheism, humanism, all these other isms.
I mean, it seems like, I've seen churches that'll split over the color of the hymnal, and form a new church. And I see similar things happening in the air quotes atheism movement as well too. People are drawing lines, and sometimes lines need to be drawn, but sometimes
right
there's too many lines.
Do you think it's necessarily a bad thing though? Because I thought like denominations, and I've heard this going back a little ways, maybe it's a good thing where the people who are in the denominations get to hang out, but then they have the bigger issues they get together to help with. And can we do that? Like, if we keep calling each other Nazis or everything, and then we're praying to get together when we have like, oh, we want to get this person elected, or we want to get this cause passed. Is it possible to still like go, okay, we're not getting together in this one thing. It's like, oh, we're not fans of the same football team, but we can still have this thing we have in common.
Yeah, exactly.
How do we keep it where we're actually able to kind of work together when we need to? Because it feels like this is the time we're going to need to.
I think part of the problem is there's not a lot of organization that I see in these various factions that are working on that.
He's a table tapper.
I am a table tapper. So if there was an effort, stop it.
By the way, no one can hear me laughing. So you did not have to reference it, but because I was being polite because it's an audio podcast and not video, and you called it out. I just want to say
there was a touching of the table, which apparently is bad. I remember
He's like
the
the
first
Phantom
time
of the Opera,
Yeah.
playing the piano.
Yeah,
You can tell
it's
when
something
Jeff's
you can
making
move your
it.
hands,
Yeah.
but you can't.
Yeah.
Do the
So
keyboard hit.
put like electric current through this, and maybe I'd stop doing it.
Don, get on it.
This was a wooden table. I put a padding on top
That's
of
what I'm
this.
saying.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
do that.
Yeah, I put down like a hand towel on my so I can put beers down.
Yeah.
Because the first time I ever was a guest, I was on Barroom Atheist, and after I did my segment, Bill was like, "Every time you put your beer down, it's bam. Every time you put your phone down, it's bam."
Yeah,
But
Like,
it's a bar room.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. It's like, and that I actually had the beer even more Jesus during that show because I
Oh,
was
that's a
trying
good
to.
yeah, he's had that
represent-
one on here before too. Yeah.
Almost got that, but
Now Jeff's working up a good lather when you hear the tapping.
That's true.
On
My
each
brain's
wow,
clicking,
point.
man.
It's yeah.
And now I lost it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. Sorry.
But you were talking about denominations.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there just doesn't seem to be, first of all, a lot of organization within each group that are reaching out to other groups to do that. So, unless and until that happens, I don't know how that's going to be entirely possible.
Because we suck at messaging.
Yeah. Well, that's
Right,
your drum.
right.
You're
That
always
is.
banging on.
I should have like Neil Peart drums for that
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
because I totally believe
so what's
that.
some of the bad messaging that's going on right now, other than the fact that everybody's getting accused of sexual assault? Besides that,
That, you know what, how you respond to that though, and to Jeff's point about reaching out,
Mhm.
and there seemed to be the settling of grievances after Silverman was fired. And I don't follow it closely enough to know what the issues are between the two groups. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but it feels like there's a little bit of a backlash to his marketing and maybe self-promotion. And there were times when I'm sure everybody, when they saw him battling on Fox, would be like, yes,
Yeah.
like somebody is, in the ring and taking some shots, kind of like when you saw Hitch, the same thing. You feel like, yes, there's somebody speaking for us. But now that he's down, and for, potentially good reasons, see, that was my bad. But I'm not normally on this side. I'm normally not on this side. So
We'll give you that one.
that's
Yeah.
my
Right.
lame ass excuse.
they'll have like sides of the bed, like where their books are, and they're like, I've moved this whole studio around. Everybody's confused. It's like a left tackle in football being tried to
Yeah.
play the right tackle. I can't switch. I can't be a right hand mouse guy all of a sudden, right?
I knew that was coming. I knew that
Well,
was
for
coming.
like 35
Very
minutes.
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
I don't like the direction this is going, but it when a very is arguably he's the highest level
Mhm.
in the atheist movement that has been basically disgraced.
Well, he knocked Krause off that mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Krause was a speaker that would, he wasn't
Yeah, he wasn't
the
the president
head of a,
the
atheist
organization.
But he was
organization.
an influencer for sure.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, he was the one
Absolutely.
that did all the billboards
When a
and-
major guy gets knocked off his pedestal, what's your response? Oh, he's down?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's kick him, as opposed to maybe this is an opportunity for us to talk about this in a different way,
Mhm.
maybe to unite as opposed to settling old scores. And that's not what seemed to happen.
No.
And
There seemed to be
how come we're not more connected and more?
there was a line drawn, and people either believed the victims or they believed David Silverman, and the unfriending started, back and forth between people on
But
social media.
you could still believe the accusations, basically, believe the accusers, but
Mhm.
not take shots at the organization
Yeah,
or
Right,
him.
right.
You could take shots at what he did,
absolutely.
obviously, but he's ostensibly on your side. That part you really shouldn't necessarily take shots at. His
Mhm.
behavior, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to kind of tar the whole
The
effort,
whole organization. too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
And I
right.
saw,
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people online afterwards that were like, "Oh my goodness, a year and a half ago, I had David Silverman on my podcast and I interviewed him. Should I take that episode down?"
Everybody had him on their podcast.
No, don't have no.
I'm the only person that didn't have him on. I mean,
put a disclaimer on there.
In person.
Yeah.
I mean,
You should have said you knew.
Yeah.
And you didn't feel comfortable.
I knew.
Yeah, the guy always kind of skeezed me out
Right.
a little.
That's-
So
yeah, that's the example. Like I was at the last ReasonCon and Lawrence Krauss was there.
I was there too.
I don't remember hearing, but I've heard people say, well, I didn't get the whispers from the Whisper Network. I heard some stuff after it happened, but I didn't really know about his reputation. But I didn't really know that it was a thing. I was just like, oh, so this happens at conferences too. It's like, oh, that's another thing that you have to consider. You have to know that everything's not great in a way. I mean, for me, the conference experience has maybe changed a bit. But I say, like, well, if I happen to drink the way I do at ReasonCon on a regular basis, I would need to be put away.
Yeah.
But for that 3 days, it's like there are no rules. But then there are no rules in other ways that
That's why they hold that thing every 2 years. They give you 2 years to sober up so you can come back and do it again.
But it does. I mean, a nice advantage of that is that it's all in one location.
Yeah.
Like an NanoCon, it was like people were staying in hotels and there were different parts of town in Nashville, and it was a little tougher, but that's okay. But were you at NanoCon?
I was at NanoCon the last 2 years, and I did go to ReasonCon 3 in Hickory last year. That was matter of fact, I was talking to somebody today about Lawrence Krauss's speech that he gave there, because there was at one point during his speech he said something that caught me as funny, and I laughed, and he pointed at me and said, "Don't laugh," and that's on the internet somewhere, but
wow, he called you out.
He did call me out, but what he said was funny. I found it humorous.
Don, it wasn't funny.
It wasn't not funny. It was irreverent, I guess would be the word I'd go with.
You don't recall what it was he said?
I know exactly what it was.
Okay.
And when he did that, what did you do? What did you do, and what did you do in your head?
I immediately thought from that day forward, anybody that watches that video, I can go, "That's me he's talking to." That's me. I'm the laugher.
A badge of honor.
Yeah. No, he was talking about gravitational waves. I don't want to get into a long discussion, but he talked about gravitational waves.
Here's the punchline.
You remember the speech he gave about gravitational waves and the detectors that they built in Louisiana and Washington State, and how they were 4 kilometers long. Anyway, they were able to measure that one of them, due to a gravitational wave, got shorter by 1/1000th the thickness of a proton, which I found that to be extremely funny that they were able to measure that and guffawed out loud from the third row and was pointed out for it.
I don't even think I know you anymore.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
It was.
Did you want to take him out though in your head? Like
No. He did a couple things, like I forget what he did something during his speech where he was like, "All right, everybody raise your hand" or something. So everybody like raised their hand. He was like, "I have nothing. I just want to see if I can get 300 people to raise their hand for no apparent reason," or something along those lines. He was doing little things like that. But yeah, it was.
But does that change your attitude toward like going to atheist conferences? What happened there? Because I just, I joined American Atheist last year. Perfect timing.
Yeah, there you go.
And I got
good job.
the letter from them about the big conference in Oklahoma City, and they're all like, "Oh, Hugh Laurie's going to be there," and I'm like, I don't really go to atheist conferences for the stars, or the stars that are on like, movie or TV star level. Like I just go to hang out with friends, and then maybe I get to see some people I know as podcasters who have that weird thing of like, I'm anonymous, and now this weekend I'm a star. Yeah. It's very strange.
It's kind of, in retrospect, looking back to ReasonCon after the allegations about Krauss came out. I mean, of course, you have that reservation, but if I'd not gone to ReasonCon and seen Lawrence Krauss, I would not have gone to the ReasonCon and seen Callie Wright do her presentation and then a surprise proposal at the end of it, with not a dry eye in the house. That was an amazing moment. I'll remember the rest of my life. Matt Dillahunty gave a great presentation at that conference. I had a really nice talk at some point during that weekend with Arn Raw and a lot of other people. So I mean, there's more. I feel like I got more good out of that weekend.
Well, one of the differences, because I went to the very first one they had.
Okay.
Can't remember how many years ago that was. But my vibe from that is it's very much about there's no green room. I mean, so the stars hang out with you.
Yes.
I mean, there's no
They're
separation, because I went to Skepticon a number of years back. That was the very first one I went to when I was an atheist.
That's the one in Missouri?
In Missouri.
Yep.
Yeah. And that one was very much the speakers come up, before the whole audience, give a talk, and then they
disappear. You don't see them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's the power of smaller ones like ReasonCon, and I guess NanoCon is
very much like that. The speakers
NanoCon it wasn't that small. I mean, I think they might have had more people than they had at ReasonCon. Like they had 400 or something.
Well, that's grown.
But it wasn't. I mean, I know Matt Dillon, who was the main speaker. I didn't actually see him, but it was more like hang out with friends, and then just. Well, of course, I was in the podcaster thing, so I was kind of stuck in that room for 2 hours. But it was like, it was definitely just. Oh, it's like every 2 steps you go, you run into somebody you hadn't seen since ReasonCon, and it's like, oh, we do have this community, and we can disagree, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And we've been talking about how just terrible the atheist community is, but how did you get here? Like you teased this on your last episode, and I wanted to bring it up. So, do you have? I don't know if it's a shorter version of like your conversion. Like I think we had 2 former Catholics here.
2 former Catholics and one
and Jeff.
A
mainliner. One of these terms. Have you ever heard the term mainline before?
Mainline Christian.
Only
mainline Christian.
one in terms of like
as
heroin,
opposed to
right? See?
Wow. Progressive.
So you're
Christian,
mainlining Jesus?
Christian.
That's pretty strong right there. All right, we'll start with the outsider.
Yes.
Jeff over here.
Yeah.
He's drinking Scottish beer. We got that going, so we're all buddies.
So, I grew up as a Presbyterian, not the freaky one they have down in the South, but the mainline Presbyterian church. And then, that's how we were raised in the family. Fairly liberal church. In fact, the church I went to, this was back in the 60s and 70s, had a female co-pastor. So, I mean, it was a progressive church at that time. Yeah, I know.
But you from around here? Atlanta-ish?
No. This is when I lived in Wisconsin.
Oh,
wow. It was full of mainline churches. Lutheran church was big up there as well.
Now it has Paul Ryan, so.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't claim him very much.
So instead of like blood and the crackers, is it blood and like cheese curds? Is that how it goes up there?
It was grape juice and little
breadcrumbs. Grape juice and
right, no wine.
Only Catholic, right? Is it more
Catholic?
Is it just Catholics that do the
real one?
No. Lutherans.
Well, that's
Lutherans
a general statement, or like in mass.
Yeah,
I was just wondering because I was at a very like liberal Protestant church, and they went out of their way to say the bread is gluten free. Jesus is gluten free here.
Oh wow!
And I know some Catholic churches like we're not even gonna. We're not playing the gluten free crap. Anyway, sorry, I got off track.
But I was Lutheran for a while too. We had the real wine there too. So
the real wine,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and then in my 20s, when I got on my career, I kind of left all that stuff. I wouldn't have considered myself an atheist, more of an apatheist. It's like I didn't really care. Whenever I went home to visit my parents, went to church with them. So, and then when I got married, went back into the church because that's supposed to be what you do when you raise a family. And then towards the end of this, I had a pastor that encouraged us to read interesting material. Like we read a book from Brian McLaren that was kind of deconstructing religion, deconstructing Christianity. So that was kind of my gateway drug. And so that was probably in the 2004, something like that. So I just continued down that path of deconstructing, where you would look at certain doctrines of Christianity, like the virgin birth, resurrection, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't think I believe this. I don't think I believe this. And so I just kind of deconstructed my way all the way out of it. And I was done.
And was there a particular like time where you knew, or you just like,
Well, the last thing I was doing was, this is back when Romney was running for president. And I decided nobody is asking questions on Mormonism.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I don't know that much about Mormonism, so what is it? So I started diving deep into what that was. And that's when I kind of discovered that, wow, this shit is all made up. This is a human-made religion, no doubt about it. And then with all the other deconstruction I did, I just, dots just suddenly connected as like, all of this is human construct. Even the Jesus stuff, Judaism, Islam, it's all just man-made construct. And
just made it a much later date.
Yeah. And so I kind of came to the realization, shit, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
fall in there? Shit.
Yeah. Shit. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because my whole world was constructed, my friends and stuff were in the church, and it's like, this is going to be interesting. So
I need to start podcasting.
Yeah. I need to tell the world about this.
All right. Your turn, Dom.
Oh, I was raised Catholic, and it never really got its hooks into me, so to speak. We were a very religious family. My parents, religion fell to my mother. She was the one that would take the kids to church. Dad, I don't ever remember, except for my confirmation and first communion, stuff like that. I don't ever remember Dad going to church with us. And I remember a couple of particular moments growing up where, like, one time I didn't want to go to church, but I had to go to church. And I asked, well, why does Dad not have to go to church? And the answer I was given was,
shut up, Don.
Yeah, basically, yeah, shut up and get in the goddamn car. It was, well, your dad says that he got enough religion when he was a child and he doesn't need any more now. And I was like, well, when do I get to that point? Because I don't want to go either, and I don't know if it was just that particular day or just in general. But I also remember sitting in church and actually listening to the sermon that the priest was giving, which was basically a parable. And it all clicked. I was like, that's kind of like a fairy tale. It's kind of like the Three Little Pigs. I don't have to believe that there was actually a pig that built a house out of bricks in order to glean some sort of, redeeming quality from the story. And I saw I forget which parable. I think it was the parable, I don't know the name of it. The one where the guy works in the field for like the last hour of the day, but gets paid a full day's wage, which I kind of saw through, and it all fell into place. That this is bullshit, and it's just like anything else. It's Santa Claus all over again. It's the Easter Bunny all over again. It's you need to be good or else, you have to answer to, Santa Claus isn't going to bring you presents, or God's not going to let you into heaven, or whatever it was. And when those went away, well, why didn't this other one kind of go with it, kind of a thing? And it wasn't until this was like in high school. I was dating a girl whose family was very religious and very active in a Baptist church. So I started going, because if I was going to date her, I was going to have my butt in a church on Sunday morning, according to her parents.
That's true love there.
So I started going to the Baptist church. And I've told y'all to this before. It wasn't until I started going to this Baptist church that I realized that people actually believe this. It was like eye-opening. It felt that way when I was going to the Catholic church. It almost felt like everybody was kind of in on the ruse. Everybody knew, but nobody was willing to say anything. And I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it just never did drop. But when I went to a Baptist church, it was like, what? You actually believe this, you're not pulling like a moral, story out of it. You think that this person was born of a virgin and lived this many years and died and came back. Okay. All right, whatever. And that kind of threw me for a loop. And religion has always fascinated me. I've never bought into it. But the idea, behind like the history of the Bible, where the Bible comes from, how it was put together and all that stuff has always fascinated me. And
That's a lot of books you can borrow on that.
But it wasn't until, I like you said, apatheist. That's a great way to put it. I remember back in my 20s having all night discussions with roommates about religion and stuff, but I wasn't
Bong involved.
Absolutely. But it wasn't until it was 9/11 basically that made me turn the corner and start taking it, seriously, because, if we're flying planes into buildings over this shit, shit just got real, and kind of put a little more effort towards it. And that's when I came out open, atheist.
So it's been a while. All right.
Yeah.
You guys have much like grander stories than me. Maybe I should have gone first. But similar to Don, Catholic, because that's what the family was. Not just the family, but everybody. Everybody.
Yeah, because you grew up north in Michigan.
Yeah.
Everybody was Catholic.
Everybody was Catholic.
Got some Reformed Yankees here.
And that was just the way it is. We're Catholic because, well, isn't everyone?
Yeah. Because we're right.
Exactly. Catholic school. And it was Catholic school that pretty much planted the seed of, and I give the school credit. They taught you how to think. And like the first time I really questioned it was like, explain this hell to me again, because I'm not getting it.
One more time.
Yeah, I'm not understanding all the peace and love your neighbor, but there's a big or else.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't.
And forever?
Yeah, like what's eternal life, or what's eternity? Like,
how exactly does an immaterial soul burn? Explain that one to me.
Are you flames, or you're in pain forever? Like after a while, isn't it, you can't hurt anymore?
Yeah.
And it was, deep questions like that. And I did it again.
You did?
I don't like this.
Oh, no.
Scoot over.
I'll sit there next time.
And it just got me questioning. And, when you're in Catholic school, to say, I don't really believe this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not the, here's the confess your unpopular opinion in a place that really didn't want to hear it too much. And then, in college, where you're supposed to give up God, and had a memorable exchange with one of my older conservative uncles who I love to death, and he super Catholic, and he was mad at me and yelling. He's like, "As you go up to college and they teach you that there's no God and you're an atheist now," and I was like, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, I am," and kind of tough shit.
Is that the first time you admitted it to yourself then, or?
The first time that kind of got my hackles up and like, yeah, and I'm not going to be shy about telling anybody, or not that I'm not going to be shy about it, but I'm not going to lie about it anymore. And that point where you are, where you're out, and a lot of people, like everybody, I kind of picked and choosed. I could probably say this, and I probably shouldn't, because really don't need to. But been out for a lot longer probably than you guys, but more vociferous as politics has got into it more.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, as the religious have gotten more political,
and amassed power,
the non-religious that are political, need to step up.
Actually also take a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another kind of unpopular opinion, because they organize past their numbers.
Yep.
But because they're organized, they get shit done, unfortunately. Now they completely, soil themselves in support of certain presidents, and go against everything they allegedly stand for, but that's a different podcast.
Politicians are, they're afraid of the evangelicals. And there was like a time in the 70s before they became anything. It was like, no, stay out of politics. And then,
nobody
like, no,
nobody
get
paid
in.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Especially
Southern
Reagan
Baptist
days.
Church was very much about church-state separation, and that changed sometime in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, people were just shocked to go, wait, these things have changed? Wait, Republicans and Democrats just flipped in the 60s?
Well, they've learned to get themselves elected to school boards and, county commissioner seats and all of these, it's not the big beauty prize, the beauty contest that comes around every 4 years. It's the low level politicians that have, more of an effect, on your day-to-day
But they're
life.
also not afraid to say who they are.
Yeah.
And too often
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we did now that I recall it, the atheist professor that's kind of not really an atheist that came from Notre Dame.
They went to Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
And
guy.
Abignani.
There's the one congressman that won't come right out and say he's an atheist, but he's a non-believer.
Oh, that's the guy from California. I
Yeah.
can't remember his name.
Nobody's admitted that.
Yeah,
Right.
they all
Admitted is the key word.
they all admit it as they announce that they're no longer going to be running for re-election and they're on their way out.
Right.
Thank you very much, Barney Frank and everybody else that's done the same thing. But yeah, I think there is now one openly, and it's not non-affiliated, non-religious, not some squishy bullshit. I think there is one congressperson that has come out as being a non-believer.
Right. Non-believer.
Yeah.
Not an atheist.
Yeah.
I'm a non-believer.
Well, sadly, I think it was the mayor of Nashville was like an atheist and got in trouble and then admitted she wasn't. And then she got into an affair. So that didn't really help the situation very much.
Had to resign in disgrace.
Welcome to the South.
Yeah.
Now, this is the part of the show everybody's looking forward to. I, of course, don't do very well at this. So I forgot to tell you in advance. But there are three of you. So out of three of you, I feel like we can get something here. Does anybody have a joke that they want to share?
Oh
my goodness.
Yeah, only Don has
Oh,
those.
no.
He's got a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my
shit ton
God.
of them.
I got a lot of, but
None that he can
None
probably
that I can say
tell.
on
Wait, what is this show rated? Is this
Yeah.
explicit?
We haven't cursed too much in this show, but yeah, it's pretty
We
open
can
here.
share.
True, we have not. I listened to one on the way over that it was like, man, we're gonna have a hard time keeping up with this.
I would be a lot more willing to throw out some jokes and let you edit it later and then throw it up. But live is a completely different situation. Yeah, I can't.
So we're looking at you like
I know, all three are just
Yeah,
staring me down.
pressure, I know.
Uh,
Come
the-
on, you're the Henny Young.
okay,
of the
all right,
group.
do, you,
the,
do you have performance anxiety or something?
There's a priest is walking down the street and he passes by a prostitute and the prostitute says, "Hey, Father, he had $5." And he keeps walking. He goes back to the church and he didn't really know what she was talking about. So he asked one of the nuns, he goes, "Excuse me, sister," he goes, what's head? She goes, $5, same with street. There you go. That's all I got.
See?
No,
There was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we had three of you to work that out.
Glad we had.
So
John.
where can everybody find Godless Heathens online?
We are our hosting site is Podbean. It's Podbean. We actually have a YouTube channel. All the episodes, same thing. We just throw up the logo and put the audio behind it, but we throw up all the episodes on YouTube. It's Godless Heathens Podcast YouTube channel. Twitter is at Godless Podcast. I don't know how we got that. That was
Good.
that was a nice.
It's
little
not on brand, but we'll
No,
promote
it's
it.
a nice little shot in the arm. And if you Google Godless Heathens, we're the first thing that pops up. Our website is the
Killer SEO.
Oh yes, very.
Killer SEO.
You don't know what we had to pay for that, but
You don't. You
$5.
know well.
big fat zero.
Well,
But
now you know.
yeah, but yeah, it's
If you see anybody at a Costco in North Atlanta
wearing a Godless Heathens
Heathens
t-shirt.
t-shirts,
It's
probably
one of us three because there's only three of them that have been made. But we are available on iTunes. We're available on Stitcher. We're available on
Google Play.
Google
now.
Play Music. Yeah, we're on
Whoa.
them as well too. Yeah. So
and
Where all the
for
hits
hire, like will you send us free beer too?
Mhm.
Absolutely, we'll praise
promote it.
Absolutely. And we also
IPAs especially.
on Facebook.
I'll give
we
you all
have-
my IPAs. Yeah.
There you go. We have a secret closed Facebook page. It's searchable, and you can find it and send a request, and we'll add you as a member. It's just a discussion group.
There was discussion.
There you go.
Well, if you want to support this show, be like Bobby, Hugh, Teody, Jeannie, and Larry, and go to patreon.com/Zachrilege, ZACHRILEGE. And I spelled that correctly after 2 beers, so can you. Followed me on Twitter at Zachrilege, like the Zachrilege Cast page on Facebook, and send all love mail, hate mail, guest ideas, anything you want, beer recipes. Been cooking a lot lately, so any of that too. Zachrilege.cast@gmail.com. So thank you to the Godless Heathens for being on tonight.
Woohoo! Nice.
For the listeners,
Thank you for having us.
Sorry,
Yes,
I'm on the road, so I didn't come up with a special exit strategy for tonight. So if you like IPAs, please send them to outside of Atlanta. And if you're inside the perimeter like me, or if you're the chosen people,
Here
inside the
we
perimeter,
go.
ITP versus
Here
the
we
This
go.
is
OTP.
Atlanta
Yeah.
content. Nobody understands.
Yeah.
Send them my way. So thank you for listening. And by the way, we're going to do a bonus show on Thursday. We're going to have Jeannie and Deborah, and we're going to talk about the atheist community and
Nice.
maybe the female side for once. We're going to give the ladies an opportunity to discuss. And I'm just going to be quiet and drink enough beer so we'll be just cool. And I'll actually have my video on so you can look at me if you like that sort of thing. So thanks, everybody, and good night and good luck.